Hello everyone, we are playing the Cold Ruins of Lastlife, a Chaos World model by Magpie Games, and we are using the engine world. This is a Gauntlet game, so the Gauntlet inclusivity policy is in place as well as its safety tools. So, the world of Lastlife is a dead world. It's a world of crumbling cathedrals, of ruined cities, and of undead light. We open to a battlefield. We see legions and legions of undead, servants of distant lords, locked in a battle for which nobody knows the reasons. And we see rows and rows of knights charging, centaur knights, riding undead skeletal horses, or even more weird creatures. And they are all locked in stasis. A triple bubble of hair is released, and as we close out, we see an enormous mired swamp filled with murky greenish waters of the refuge of whatever arcane cataclysm trapped them in these stasis. We zoom in three of the undead, and as an unfathomable amount of time passes, the waters darken, and soon they can barely see anything of the battlefield other than themselves. Ages pass, and they are locked in this silence, close to the people they knew, the people they were, but unable to reach out. And like another moment of eternity, it suddenly gives into darkness. Whatever was a travesty of time becomes even less meaningless until there is a spark and a fire. There is the dark walls of something dug in beneath the waters, the feeble efforts of a pale flame, a cold light touching these mired swamps that trap them. And we see one by one they free themselves from this stasis and are able to move and find themselves again. So let's go introducing these three undead knights one by one. Let's start with Tarsher. Introduce yourself and your character.
Hi, I'm Asher, they them pronouns. My character is the paladin So Loud. Trying to discover something about a Mr. The Fall. They wear strange leathers and have jewelry sewn into their flesh that they've stolen. Yeah, I think that's about it for now.
So as So Loud frees themselves from these stasis, they realize that they are in some kind of underground complex. And there is something about it that reminds them about the old cloisters in which they study for the seminar, something vague. He has a vision of cloistered and people there, and something rings similar to that. What is this? What could these poorly lit tunnels have in common?
I think I went to a school.
Did you?
So, well, I mentioned there was some sort of paladin training, but I think it was at like a palace sort of thing. And we were like some of the lower classes had become paladins, right? So they took all these farmers and merchants or whatever who were trying to increase their lot in life by helping the crown. So I think that's kind of what it reminds me of, is that these are like the kind of unwashed masses here, right? Trying to make the best of the situation.
So, Max, as you fall down, what do they see when we see your character? Introduce yourself and your character.
I'm Max. My character is currently going by Basha, although he knows that's not actually quite the right name. He's a huge, bulky creature, no neck to speak of, tiny eyes which are just little pinpricks of light, long arms which almost drag on the ground, and his fists are naturally large and have sort of chunks of broken bone sticking out from the top, which looks quite dangerous. He's wearing some rusted, what looks like it once was chainmail, and his body is covered in just thousands and thousands of scars. So he's basically more scar tissue than skin at this point.
So you see Soloud already freed from this, and you look up to this dark water that is still in stasis over you, and you see so many wonders still trapped there, and you have this vague recollection about the battlefield. You remember that you were on one side, but you don't know which one or what you were fighting for. But there's something, you know that there is something powerful trapped still in the dark waters, frozen in time, and you want it. You want it more than anything. What is there? What you know that is there that you want it back?
So I think he kind of remembers that one of the reasons he was even involved in this battle was because he wanted to get close to this thing. He knows that he was probably on the same side as So Loud, but he's not entirely certain about that. And he thinks that the thing that he was trying to get his hands on was some sort of small coin-like object. It's like a tiny gold coin, which the person who has it in their possession can sort of control the minds of others. So it's this hugely powerful artifact, but he's not certain if that's true or just something he's kind of remembered wrongly.
So lastly, there is someone else that is freed from the swamps of the marred lands. And so, Reese, why don't you introduce... so, Peter, why don't you introduce us to yourself and to Reese?
Sure. I'm Peter, he, him, and Reese doesn't remember if that's just a syllable of their name or their full name, but He has a body that has become bloated over time. His eyes are gleaming with tears. What were once his cleric vestments are now just rags and shreds. And he sort of gives off this ever-present and faint mist around him. More than anything, he wants to find a way to help someone or something in this world meaningfully change, particularly since so much of it seems stuck.
And it seems that you kind of have no choice. You look back and you know that whatever is up there, whatever those people were fighting for, it's stuck, it's there. You have to move ahead. So perhaps that's why you are more receptive to the humming that seems to permeate the tunnels.
Mm.
You can feel the very hair vibrating. There's something powerful spinning the very air. It's not stale, as you would expect the stale to be of an underground tunnel underneath a swamp. Instead, there's something to the smell that inspires trust. What is this smell, and why do you feel relaxed sensing it?
I think it is it's got this kind of smoky savor to it that the incenses of the Temple of Pedwin would have had, though I have no idea why that would be here.
So what, like incense?
Mm-hmm.
So you are in the middle of a tunnel proper.
Mm-hmm.
The bonfire is lit, and you can see no light coming from other directions other than the light you have, but you get this soft vibration that seems to permeating the tunnels to the point that if you stop thinking about it, it seems normal as you slowly balance to it. And from the north, you can sense this incense smell. From the south, so far you can only sense darkness.
Well, I think Reese sort of rationalizes to himself that if I can smell incense burning, then someone must be burning it. And so, with just the darkness stretching out behind, I'll at least follow this this scent that reminds me of trust and safety and the temple, because it seems at least this fire here may not last forever. So.
And can we see each other? Are we in the same bit of the tunnel?
Yeah, you are on the same bonfire. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so you see that Reese seem to be enthralled by something. I assume you still have not senses this smell. Also, senses tend to be a bit duller to most of the undead. But for the first time after being trapped for what, years, centuries, millennia, you are finally free to communicate to each other.
I think Basher will kind of stretch and get off the fire, and he'll turn and see these two other bodies still on top of the pyre. And he'll shout up and say, "Oi, fella, what's your name, right? You." And he'll point up at Reese. He kind of feels like he knows him, but has no idea what he's called or sort of what their relationship used to be, but he kind of knows that that's somebody he knows.
And I think that that's probably the moment that Reese mouths some sounds first, but then just Reese is the only intelligible syllable that kind of comes forward from that. And then just sort of a, yes, I am Reese.
Yeah, Reese, yeah. What's that? Who's he? And he points up at the other body
I think
with huge long arm.
I'm like covering my ears, like trying to go back to sleep. But I'll eventually go join you all. I'm I'm not sure who I am, but I guess you can call me Sola.
Sure thing. And looking around us, so are the flames still burning from this bonfire?
The flames are still burning on the bonfire.
And we're not really affected. Can we feel it at all? Or?
Well, you can feel somehow. It seems like the permamist that seems to surround the land seems to be weak around the bonfire, and you feel that your soul or whatever animating force keeps you seems to be tied to the bonfire.
Is there life around here? Like, are there plants or anything?
The bonfire is the only light there. If you go deeper north or south, you can only perceive darkness.
And could we pull a piece of the bonfire off and take it with us?
Yeah. So you strike it and you carry a tiny bit of the weak flame. And the flame seems to grow livelier if you wave it towards north. So it seems that whatever is feeding it is coming from north.
I wonder, and Reese sort of like very optimistically says, I wonder, friends, if perhaps this is some providence that we are all restored to some extent here today. Do you not smell the incense from the north? I think that there may be others like us. Perhaps we can go to them and find some more information about these dire straits we all find ourselves in.
Well, I've got nothing better to do. Sounds like a good idea. Lead on, friend.
Yeah. I don't know how much we can trust these other people. But a scent is as good a trail as anything in the start place.
All right. I'm going to follow my nose north then.
So, as you go north, you can feel the smell of incense growing stronger and stronger until it's mixed with something else, with something sweet like honey, but not like honey that you would be familiar from. It's because you were expecting, a bit of the flowery scent mixed with the honey, but you can pretty much only sense the sugar of something fermented, something not exactly vegetable matter. And you have this mix of these two smells, and you carry the light, and there seems to be a slight change in hue as it goes from pale white to a very a very thin line of blue rising from the tip of the flame, and the vibration of the tunnel becomes a veritable buzz. It keeps vibrating, and now you can feel the air itself, as if there are powerful wings beating, trapped at some point in the tunnel.
Could I try and what's it called? Spout claw, but not spout claw.
Recall a memory.
Yes, recall the memory and see if this smell reminds me of anything, or the wind, or the.
Okay, go ahead. Let's see what Basher recalls. So what did you get?
Sorry, I'm muted. I got 2 ones, and it's intelligence for memories, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I have 1.
Okay, so you mark experience. So you are concentrated, trying to go through your memory, trying to figure out what this reminds of. But somehow, I think it might be because of being stuck in the Mired Lands for so long. It seemed to have messed however your undead senses work, and instead of the smell activating your memory, you feel almost like you can hear better, that you can make sense on the vibrations on the ground, and you concentrate a bit more and you can feel it kind of slowing down to you. And what you were confusing as poor vibration, it actually seems to be a very fast song. And you can make out the words. I am the last one. I am the last one. All my siblings are already gone, but I cannot wait to be born. Over and over again.
I think Basher kind of starts singing this really quietly under his breath, and continues heading down the corridor in the same direction.
think So Loud's still covering their ears. They don't really hear. And is more focused on trying to figure out where they are. What is this underground place under a swamp? Try to do like study the ruins.
Yeah, I was going to say that if you are trying to get a better sense than just relying on the sensorial information you have, give me a study the ruins.
All right, and that's Wiz, which I'm not good at, but oh well. I got a 7, which is -1, so it's a 6.
So you mark radiance.
Okay.
And you
I don't
have
mark
one.
XP.
Yeah. No, you don't mark XP because you get a success, but you mark radiance.
No, I got a 6.
Oh, I thought you had a 7. Okay, so mark XP, but not radiance.
Yeah, I rolled a 7, but it's a -1 in the stat.
Okay. So this seems to be. Well, actually, no. You have a pretty good idea of the layout. You know that if you go south, it will probably drive you deeper underground, which maybe is not what you want. And you get the feeling that if you continue north, you are going to at least open in a bigger chamber, because the way that the space keeps slowly dilating, you are probably going to be in some more open space, which at least will not be as claustrophobic. The thing is, you can spot lights. You can see some lights incoming, and they are not as you would expect someone carrying a torch or a lantern. The lights are fast, and they seem to be banging up and down the walls of the corridor. So what do you guys do?
Well, I'll point that out to the people. Like, do you see those lights?
I mean, everyone can see those lights. They are coming, and they are coming fast.
Okay, maybe that has to do with all the wind and the incense.
Yeah, looks bad, right? Let's stay next to the wall, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say if they are moving like straight toward us, I mean, Reese at least will press himself up against a wall to hope that perhaps it will just move past him and not into him.
Well, Reese at least has a shield, right? Hold that up, we can all get behind you.
Yeah.
So Reese,
Mm.
can you describe to me what does the altar at the high temple to Pedwin looks like?
It was a marble altar, sort of laying with actually or inlaying with sort of ornamental woods and gold and things like that. The cloths across it weren't actually silken things, but they were more like sailcloths and sort of things suggestive of wagons and ships and expansion and that sort of stuff. And rather than being kind of covered in candles like candelabra, they rather had sort of lanterns and other things for markers on the roads.
So you see something that is approaching that at first you kind of think that they look like big insects, like 3 feet across, all bronzed and golden. But then you get close and you see that they're fast vibrating wings. They are actually made of sails, and from their necks, and they actually have necks, they seem to have lanterns hanging from them. And they seem to be a bit of a cross between the cherubins that are used decoratively and the gargoyles on the outside to catch the rain. And these seems to be some strange drones made of bronze and rotting wood. And they seem to be closing in fast on you, and they look aggressive.
Since they bear so much symbolism of my church, I think that in some sort of half recalled scrap of information, Reese sort of, instead of cowering, actually steps forward then and holds up his holy symbol, which is sort of like a tarnished wheel, and kind of rebukes them to stop. And I think that if it's all right, if this counts, kind of as a turn undead or turn the horrors of the ruin, possibly.
Muted.
Okay, I'll just check something fast on the move because it's either that or a defy danger.
Okay.
Let's see. The details of the move and the outcome. Turn undead.
Yeah, I thought the book said something about turn undead.
Yeah. Yeah, do a turn undead.
Okay.
We can interpret the results of it.
So let's see here.
Oh, cool. It's like its own move.
This is a 10. So on a 10, you momentarily daze intelligent undead, cause mindless undead to flee, or in this case, horrors. An aggression would break the effect, and they would be able to act as normal.
So you raise your holy symbol in awe, and the creatures seem to stop as they recognize it, and they slowly dare to approach, but at some point they stop as if there is an invisible hall between you and them. And then the awesome aura is too much, and they scary, and they stick to the flanks, and they seem to be leading you ahead in a manner of a procession.
Okay. I sort of turn to my travel companions and just suggest, I don't remember that this is how this always worked, but it seems we have a bit of an escort now. And I'll sort of, holy symbol still aloft, just sort of follow behind these horrible insects.
Basher, you notice that the song has stopped. The humming is gone.
Did it seem to get louder when the insects arrived, or do I think it's not related?
You think it was not getting louder when the insect arrived, but it seemed to stop the moment that the trees brandish their holy symbol.
Okay. I'll continue just humming it under my breath anyway. I think after sort of so long just in the darkness with silence and nothing, just any type of music or life or light is really fascinating.
Yeah, speaking of light, because now you have 4 sources of light, suddenly you can see a lot ahead, and you can see something reflected, something radiant. In a world that you remember only gold tones and grays, you can see the hints of a rainbow and glass and reflections and warm light coming from the next. And it seems that something is reflecting the light of your torch and the lanterns 1,000 times.
To continue on. Go ahead.
Are these any sorts of like metallic sculptures or stained glass or anything like that?
Who, the drones or?
The kind of the source of this reflection that we see around us.
Why don't you give me a studied ruins?
Sure. So. Oh, oops. Let me see. This did not sort the way I thought it would. So that's one. That is a 5.
Okay, so mark XP. You were sensing the reflections of the light back, and you are hearing the crystalline glittering, as you know, as like a dream catcher of a lot of crystals beating against each other, and you can hear the scurry of more wings, and you get the feeling that these drones, they were just the forward forces of whatever hive you are approaching. It seems that all these lights reflected back, it seems to have awakened it.
This sounds like a good time to take up a quest to slay whatever beast. Try to get these crystals.
Just say it. So what is the quest that you are declaring?
To slay these flying monster things.
Okay, so let's see which would be an appropriate limitation to that, if you have any idea. So which which wounds are you picking?
Wounds?
Yeah.
Do I get more than one?
You pick 2 from the list that the move has.
That's like a mark of divine authority. That would make sense because we already used one.
Yeah, also they are answering pretty well to it, apparently.
We'll say like a voice that transcends language. Seems
interesting. So I'll say that you need to make a vow of truth. So you cannot lie.
All right.
So if you lie, you're going to lose your sense of authority and this voice of that transcends language.
It's hard to lie because I don't have any truths yet. I don't really know what's going on, but all right.
So you came into the great opening, and it's enormous conical structure that reminds you of For some reason, the old cathedrals, at the same time, it's unlike any cathedral that you have seen. The architecture, it's odd. The angles are all wrong. It's built on pentagons and hexagons, and it's wrapped around itself. And it seems that other than this tunnel, all the other exits are high in the sky. There is some glass ceiling in which light breaks down into a cascade of rainbows that reflects on big, thick drops of clear liquid, some sort of ambrosia that is slowly falling down through the skies, and light being reflected between these drops. And you see the drones, countless. There must be more than 1,000 of them coming in and out of these different passages. And they seem to be very nervous at your presence. And they seem to be congregating around something at the center of the hive.
Can we see what's at the center of the hive?
You can see a marble pedestal in which there is a drop of the honeyed ambrosia that is falling in. And you see something moving within the ambrosia, but you cannot see it from here.
Is that where the light's coming from? So there's all this light too, right?
The light is coming from the ceiling and reflecting on the ambrosia.
Hmm.
And is the pedestal quite high up, or is it sort of within walking distance?
No, it's walking distance. It's no higher up than any of you.
And to get to the other exits, is it climbable?
Well, it is climbable, but it's quite the trip.
Hmm.
And if you are attacked while climbing, it will not be pleasant.
And sorry, no question. How big are these drones, roughly?
I'll say that they are 3 feet tall.
3 feet. So I can't do feet.
Is the sweet smell from before coming from this ambrosia here?
Oh yes, it is.
Okay. All right.
And the incense is coming from the tunnels up in the nest. And actually, because Solout is carrying this divine authority and has a voice that transcends language. Now he can hear not the song, but he can hear something on the vibrations coming from the pedestal. It is time. It is time. Finally. I was afraid. I was afraid it was my brothers and sisters, but oh yes, champions, yes, I'm ready. Come for me.
All right, I'll come to it. Go up to the ambrosia. Yeah, because my symbol of divine authority is all the treasures in my flesh, right? So I have all these things gleaming out of me, and they're probably even brighter here, right? Because it's all reflected.
As you are approaching, a few of the drones become aggressive and they descend immediately over the other drones, tearing them apart, pieces of bronze and wood in all directions. They barely last more than a few seconds. And after they dismantle them, they seem to be somehow reading you to see what they should do to you. give you a moment to react. So what do you guys do?
Is there any ambrosia which isn't on the pedestal, like sort of on the ground or anything?
Yes, there's pools of ambrosia around.
I would like to taste some.
Okay, so why don't you defy danger with Constitution?
Oh, oops. Got 6. Oh. Flipped. Wow. 12.
Okay, so mark radiance, and you get ongoing +1 to interact with drones. You taste the ambrosia, and it's impossibly sweet. You don't remember ever having something as sweet on your life. And for a moment, it's almost like you are alive again, which is horrifying because suddenly you are aware of how decayed your body is, and you are able to breathe and get the sensation of a beating heart, but at the same point you have the unspeakable pain of something like that in your condition. But then it's gone, and you are just filled with this sense of transformation and potential. And it seems you seem like there's part of new life imprinted on you, and you can get a glimpse of silvery light of the ambrosia that is still within your body. And the drone seems to ignore you after you ingested the ambrosia and turn their attention to the other two.
So Loud, when you kind of set out on a quest, is that a public declaration that we're all able to hear, or is that something that they do privately in their heart?
I was thinking it was more private this time.
Okay.
Mostly I just wanted to steal these bleeding treasures and steal them.
Right. Because I was just making sure that Reese responded accordingly based on your approach to the thing. Not knowing what you're up to, I'm probably not going to do what I was thinking at first. So I think actually more than anything else, Reese is really captivated by this sort of central figure that all the drones are swarming around, and these kinds of things. And he is, I think, just curiously watching it. Even though the other drones have kind of attacked each other and things like that, I think just because of his experience with warding off the previous ones, he has perhaps a faulty sense of confidence about his ability to do that again.
Why don't you do a defy danger with charisma to see if you can get close enough without them attacking you?
Can I aid? Because I have this. What's it called? I have these similar artifacts. The mark of my faith.
Yeah, I will say that as Release is doing this, So Loud is using their mark of divine authority to get the attention of the drones all on him. So, okay, so I don't think okay. So you roll ahead. If the bonus of the help will change the result, then Asher rolls.
All right.
I would have a 5 right now.
Yeah, okay. So Asher, it's better if you roll.
Well, I couldn't help, right? Like, if I add one, that's not going to do anything.
Cannot you get more than one on the basic move?
I think it's +1 or -2.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, no need
It's
to
fine.
roll. Yeah. Okay.
I can't truly die. It's all right.
Okay. So a lot of the swarm descends on you, and you get your own load of cuts from the bronze blades that they seem to be walking on. And you get 4 damage as they turn aggressive and land on top of you and cut you. But you manage to squeeze through them just enough that you can look into the pedestal and you'll see an enormous fat maggot wrapped about itself. It's around 9 feet and it's rolling around itself and it's just gorging on the ambrosia. And you can sense the vibrations coming from it as it's singing something. Something that you could not, well, you still cannot hear, only so loud and Basher can actually get a feel of it.
I though our roll history has not been awesome, I'm curious if I can recall any kind of stories about some sort of creature like this having always been beneath Lastlife. And so with sort of this with the weeping wounds, with the with the reflected light, the scents, and all this stuff, I think Reese like deeply retreats into memory for a second to see what he might recall.
Okay, go for it. Good kill a memory.
So that was an 8 on this one.
Okay, so mark memory.
And let me see.
Which one you pick?
I want to say that my recollection is incomplete.
So you remember hearing the stories about the ancient primal chaos from which a last life was formed, and how a pocket of it remained because it answered to faith and belief. And it was, you remember the story about the nursery of the gods, where the gods themselves spent their infancy before time was created, before the different races of Lastlife emerged. But you believe that the nursery was an allegory for something, for that tiny fraction of time between chaos and order. But somehow the ambrosia, the nurturing maggot, all seems weary like that. especially the glass reflecting rainbows and the breakdown of the light. You remember a couple of rhymes that describe it exactly that. So it seems like the rest of the world is twisted. Even the tale of the nursery of the gods has been twisted by it.
I think while Reese is staring, Basher would have seen him being attacked and felt some sort of subconscious need to protect him. And he would have sort of rushed forward and kind of wave his arms over his head to try and keep the drones away. And protect him while he kind of stares at this thing.
Okay, why don't you roll defend?
Sorry, I missed again. 5.
Oh, okay. So, Mark XP.
I'm helping.
So you try to keep them away, but the drones don't react positively to that. You seem to be angering them more and more drones come to joining, and as they dive on top of you, you take 12 damage. And you can hear the song again, well, at least the same voice of the song, but this time it's panicked. And it's like, no, they're turning on me, they're going to kill me now after so long to be born. I thought this will be the one. No, kill them, keep them away. And Solad can also hear that through his voice that defies language.
Is it talking about us?
Yeah, it seems to be talking about, well, at least Riz and Bashar.
Okay. Yeah, I guess then I'll try to pull them back. What are you doing? Well, I was ahead of them, I guess, so I'll just try to push them back from ahead.
Yeah,
Wait,
I don't think
rethink this.
Reese is not a very strong person, so he can't really resist that very well. you pretty much put him where you want him. So.
And Bashar?
I think, Basher will kind of move back with Reese. And he's just like, go off, oi, like that. And kind of, not really paying attention even to so loud. He's still just flailing at these drones.
So, as you are kind of pushed away, and the drones react accordingly, and they make a dome around the pedestal, locking the bronzed blades with each other, looking at you with their empty cherubim faces, and the light of the lanterns dangling accusatively at you as the slow drop of ambrosia falls on the dome and breaks into a rainbow cascade over this strange shield wall. But you got yourselves a moment of respite as they rush to protect the maggot inside and stay in that defensive formation.
Can Basher try and just sort of use his intuition to feel if the maggot is sort of a nice thing or a nasty thing? Like, sort of how should he behave towards it? Just kind of intuition, like feeling.
Yeah, that would be a study the ruins, so that you have questions to ask about that, how your intuition clarifies that.
Nine.
So mark radiance, and you have one question you can ask.
That is not my question. I think what is about to happen.
Oh, you know that the maggot, you get a feeling that it's going to transform. You seem to have actually got loose by the vibrations of both it getting to the critical mass and being happy that they were celebrating with the song that you caught. But you know that if you let this happen, it's going to transform in its mature adult form. Which you don't know exactly what it is, but you're pretty sure that is going to happen sooner rather than later.
I think that once Reese is sufficiently far away to kind of be snapped out of his memory trance, he does share with his group here. You all, I remember these stories about the nursery of the gods, and I think it's possible that this may be sort of an infant of divinity, that it will take form and become something great and wondrous, though at this stage it seems to perhaps have fallen.
Yeah, but it's a maggot, right? And maggots, they become flies, right? It's not a great and wondrous god, maybe.
They do indeed. I can't help but wonder if things might have been different, and if it may be best actually to prevent whatever age this creature will usher in, even if it might be different than this one. What are your thoughts, So Loud?
I think I agree that these creatures don't seem like they have our interest in mind, right? So once it grows, I don't think, at the best, it'll try to control humanity control us instead of helping us and whatever our previous duties did. So, yeah, I tend to agree. But you had some of that smelly stuff. What did that do?
I think, yeah, Bash will kind of try and explain the feeling and how it kind of gave him a faint recollection of what being alive was like, and sort of how horrible that was in some ways. I think he's very unsure as well as what the best thing to do is. I think maybe just, again, sort of going on his intuition, he will try and rush at the pedestal and just pick up the maggot and run away with it. Or try and do that. I know it's a very large maggot. So kind of rush towards the pedestal.
All right, I'll defend you then.
Sorry, the thing is, because this might affect that, there is a literal dome of drones between you and the maggot. So
Yeah.
you try to bull rush it.
Yes, try and
Okay, I will say that's a defy danger with strength to try to push through.
feel free to prevent me from doing this if you want. So that's 8 plus 2, so 10.
Then can I roll to defend him?
Yeah.
All right. I have a lot of con. 10 plus 2, so 12. I got 3 hold.
Okay, so you have 3 hold that you can spend to protect them. So you make it quite successful, Basher. You live up to your name and you just rush through, and the rotten wood that makes the part of the drones breaks, and they are just pushed aside. And because so loud is ready with the shield, putting between them and the blades, they managed to stop the panic brandishing of their limbs, and you make your way through the middle of it. You cover your arms in the thick ambrosia, and you pick up the surprisingly light maggot. And yeah, you are holding the maggot. And what do you do now?
So I think the first thing I want to do is get it away from the ambrosia, because I kind of feel like that might be causing the change, and I don't want that to happen, I don't think. So I will just sort of throw it away from where it is and try and kind of aim for a patch of ground which doesn't have any ambrosia.
Okay. If you have suggestions for the move to solve that,
I mean, it sounds like a volley if they're throwing.
well, yeah, but it's not exactly.
I guess it's kind of, it could be defy danger. Yeah, I always go defy danger if I'm not sure. I don't know what type of defy danger though.
Dexterity, definitely.
Sure.
So defy danger, dexterity.
Yeah, you're throwing something out of the way.
5.
So about that hold, you might want to spend some of it, because the drones are going to pile on Basher. So how much hold do you want to spend, and for what?
I don't know how much I can do right now. I mean, I
You
can
can actually spend all of it. There's no limit to how much you can spend, as long as you still have it.
but it would like half their damage.
Mm-hmm.
So if I spend 2, that would double half it. So get rid of all the damage.
Well, you cannot pick the same thing twice.
Okay. I guess I'll open up the attacker to an ally, which would be me, so I can attack these drones. Since that's what I wanted to do in the first place, and then half their damage to my comrade Reese.
Okay, so
After.
first let's solve the damage.
All right, and I have a halberd, which has reach, so I can reach out at them. And +1 damage, which is nice.
Okay, so you do ahead to your action slash, and the basher, even with half, you take 8 damage, but you get 1 XP.
I got a 7, so I guess I'm taking damage too.
Even with the +1 from the defense?
Yeah, I rolled a 6 and then got
Mm.
+1 because of my strength. So that would be a 9.
Okay, so how much damage you deal them?
I still have to roll that. Yeah. Let's go to roll for your party now. I don't have a D10 in front of me. Eight. I dealt 8 damage back at them.
So you managed to lash out at a lot of drones and you dismantle, wrecking them against each other. But their numbers just seem endless, and you get hit for 14 damage.
Wow. I think I'm dead.
Wait, really?
Well, I only have 10 HP. 2 armor.
Yeah. Well, time to roll for the Dead Awakening.
Oh, I think Asher, your HP should be max 26.
Oh, is it?
Let's see that. Yeah, you did not add the Constitution.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're still on your feet.
Okay, so the dead are not awakening.
Cool.
We'll get to try that soon when I die, don't worry.
Well, the good thing is the maggot is away from the shield wall, and it's squirming in the ground trying to get to the nearest pound of ambrosia, and it's just crying, "No, it's not fair. My siblings got to be gods, and now I don't get to."
Reese, actually, since for various circumstances, Reese doesn't actually understand that anyway. I think a similar rush of impulse fills Reese when he sees Basher wounded, and Reese kind of rushes forward to lay hands on him and chant a healing spell to wound or to knit his flesh and make even more scars for him in the future. So let's see. So that is a 9, and I think it makes sense for doing this to draw unwelcome attention to myself.
And how much I get back?
So let's see. This will be 6.
Oh, nice. Oh, lovely. Cheers, mate.
Get those double digits back.
Yeah. I think I have been forgetting about my armor, but oh well. I'll remember from now on. Are there still so many drones left?
I'll say there are still dozens of drones left.
And are they kind of flying, just buzzing around quite high, so we can't necessarily hit them? Or
No, they are still on the dome. Well, they are tangled one against each other because Basher barged in and then Soul Out kept them from reorganizing, so they are still pretty much trapped and vulnerable there.
I think Basher will swing. He'll just start boxing at them.
Yeah. So as you're going to do that, as you are revitalized by the energy of the spell, you can feel something odd on the prayer that you used. It seems that it's the maggot that is lending you divine power, and you can feel it working. It worked. It healed. Only when you see it later, you recognize, well, they are making this work. You do not recall the last time you have such an intimate connection with the divine, and it's somehow unsettling. The maggot seems quite interested on Riz, and instead of reaching for ambrosia, it starts rolling towards Riz. So, Basha, are you still going to hack and slash the drones?
So was that Reese who kind of felt that connection, or did I feel it as well?
It was Riz.
In that case, then I will continue what I was doing, unawares of what is going on behind me.
Okay, so hack and slash.
Uh, 13.
Yeah. So, do you want to get extra damage, leaving yourself vulnerable, or just base damage?
I feel like Basher would go for extra damage and leave himself vulnerable.
Okay, go for it.
Still, you defend for you, right?
You still have hold one. It's true.
If you leave yourself vulnerable, I can still help defend you.
Excellent.
Do you divert the attack, or you reduce the damage to half?
I'll reduce it to half. I don't want to. I think not myself.
Okay, so how much damage did you give?
That's plus 1d6. I got 11. 7 plus 3 plus 1.
Oh, yes. So you get 6 damage as they strike back, but you just completely wrecked the shield hall. And because of the ambrosia on your system, you are hard for them to perceive, and they seem to be very confused. It's like they are fighting an invisible enemy. And you wrecked so many of them that the last 3 or 4 drones standing, they take flight and they scurry around, and their panic seems to be spreading to the drones that are still on the high walls. So you have dozens of wrecked drones in front of you. Then you have the very confused, nervous drones flying around, trying to figure out, telling each other that there is some kind of invisible assaultant going around. They are just trying to figure out where you are, but 1260 feet above you, completely clueless. So it's you and the maggot, which you turn around just to see it hitting Ree's legs.
I think especially being so wrapped up in my curing that I sense that there was that weird connection, as you said, but more and more, it seems like Reese is a deeply introspective person who is very unaware of his surroundings. But the as this maggot, I think, sort of rolls into me, I think that my primary concern is to get away, to get some distance between me and it, because I suddenly have a greater plan for what Reese might want to do with this maggot, but it can't happen if he's crushed. So
So you roll away, and the maggot, it seems to be vibrating again. So for these, it sounds more like some weird pearl-like phenomena. But for the other two, they can make some clarity to that. You have tasted my power. It is my place to be a god, and it is your place to worship. We need each other.
I want to see if this recalls memory. I feel like I would remember this god if it was important. Oh, plus int. I rolled an 8. I think I have 0 plus 0 int. Yeah. So, boop, boop, boop. So I'm going to choose one. Let's say it's incomplete.
Okay, so you mark memory. You, especially because Reese told the story about the nursery of the gods, you recall more specific details about the creation of the world and how that every god had a portfolio, and they brought such things into creation as they emerged. And each god brought a new race, and each god brought a new thing. If this is indeed a god that is just now being born, just it being born would imply some new transformation on the ruins of Lastlife.
All right. I guess I'll try to ask it about that. Like, what are you?
I am the future. I was dreamt of the litter. I was left in a nursery, and until the crest of the world broke away and light came in, and it's finally my time to be born. I am the youngest of the gods.
I don't believe we have much of a future. That's not super convincing. Are we still fighting these drones?
Oh no, the drones are flying in panic, looking out
Okay.
for the invisible Barsher.
So one of the qualities when I defined Pedwin in character creation is that you can petition Pedwin through sacrifice. And I think that Reese kind of says to the group, I'm not sure what this thing is, but as Basher said, maggots become flies, and this world is a corpse for it to feast on. I think that we need to sacrifice whatever godhead it possesses to Pedwin and entreat their guidance for how to restore this world.
I think Basher will kind of walk up to where the maggot is, and he will kind of put one of his fists with the kind of bony spikes sort of near it, and he says, "Or we could threaten it, get it to do what we want, right?"
Well, if this is a god and we're fighting it and we take it out, then that's fair, right? So I think I want to command it to fight us.
That sounds safe.
Yeah, let's have a duel with a god.
Should we see, perhaps, if we can remove it from its nest before inciting the rage of these drones?
That's true. That's only fair.
So how are you climbing to the upper path?
Is there a path?
There are countless paths, and there is also the ceiling, which there is light coming on. The thing is, they are pretty up there. You need to climb a couple of floors.
Well, I have adventuring gear, so I guess I'll go up and let down a rope for everyone else.
Okay, so give me a defy danger dexterity to see if you can make all the way to the top.
And I'll be like taking off some of these things on the wall while I'm going up. 7, 8. I got an 8.
So
Stumble, hesitate, or flinch.
you are making your way up to the top. You're stretching your rope. You are preparing so the others could climb. But you realize that this is going to be impossible to go through the side paths without having to fight the entire swarm. On the other hand, the light, especially as you get higher, it's intensely blinding and hot. So you get this feeling that if you are to break through the ceiling, it will result in damaging and destroying maybe this entire place, that you have no idea what is beyond it, and you suppose it's the swamp. This is only your experience. So you will be flooding this place with the swamp, but you will not have to fight anyone else. Or you can try to brave one of the side passage and fight more of the drones.
I'll brave more of the side passage. Like that's my quest, is to destroy these drones. So we might as well go and do that.
Okay, so are the other two tying the maggot to the rope and climbing after so loud, or do you still want to do something before making your escape?
I imagine, yeah, if we have to create some sort of net to hold this big noodly maggot, and I think that based on the description that Basher gave me before, I'd like to say that for my adventuring gear, I have a small kind of vial of some sort that I can gather some of this ambrosia for the future that way.
Okay, take note of some ambrosia.
And I want to take some of these crystals that are like replicating light, but yeah, not enough to Let the swamp in. Just a couple.
Okay, so you slowly push this maggot. It's going, no, let me have some ambrosia. And it tries to poke out of the net to get to the ambrosia, all in vain. You don't understand. I'm useless to you as I am now. I need to be born. And it seems that all the vibrating finally got the attention of the drones. And as you are making your way through the side passage, you have drones in your back and drones in your front. And unfortunately, there is not enough space to brandish bigger weapons, so you are limited to close and hand weapons. So what do you do to open a path across the drones?
If we kind of push the maggot up first, will that sort of stop them from attacking us so much? If we kind of use it as a maggot shield?
I mean, you can try, or you can study the ruins to get the feel of that.
I will study the ruins. I think that is a 6.
So, mark experience, and you get the feeling that if you were to do that, they will drag the maggot, and you will be playing a game of Tug of God or God of War. And you have no say what would happen to this weird maggot god if that happened, but it will not be good, and it will probably leave you stuck more than ever. And in fact, this moment of hesitation leads you to an unpleasant discovery. The side wall breaks and a blade of bronze stabs your arm, as you see that it was not enough that you were coming from the back and the front. They are also now destroying the passage in their efforts to reach you. And
I'm going to die.
You're gonna take 7 damage.
If you're at 0, does that count as dead? Or does that count as unconscious, kind of?
Even with the armor?
With armor, I'm at 0.
Okay, then you're gonna die.
Yay.
So, time to roll for the Dead Awakening. So...
Is there any way to gain health? Like, there's no make camp or anything, right?
there is my camp.
Okay.
But it does a bit different. The thing is, Basha is not dead. Now he's rolling to see how he reappears.
I guess I'm still dead.
How much did you roll?
Was I the only one sort of carrying the maggot, or was it shared between me and Reese?
No, it was on...
Well, it's on the rope, right?
Okay, so I kind of fall limply from the wall and, smack into the ground.
Yeah, but the mists of Lastlife rush to you and you disappear. So what was the result of your Dead Awakening roll?
Let's do that. 8.
8. So Dead Awakening. On a 7/9, pick one of the four from below. Lose a bond, mark a ability, or cross off both one of Radiance on Memory Improvement.
I think I want to forget my second bond when I come back to life. So the thing which I stole from Reese, I still have it, but I no longer remember that I stole it.
Okay, interesting. So you see your companion disappear, and you see more and more of the drones come in, and
So
you see. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say I can't use my halberd here, so I want to hold it to the maggot as like to threaten them.
Oh, you want to protect the maggot?
No, I'm holding my weapon to it to threaten the people attacking us. Like if they attack us, then I'll kill your god. Right.
Oh, that makes sense. And again, because of your vow, you can actually communicate with them. So I would say that was a parlay because you have leverage on them.
All right, that's interesting. First parlay of the game. Oh, so I can talk to these drones too?
Sorry?
I can talk to the drones also?
I would not say exactly talk because they are not very communicative, but you
Right.
can make your point across.
Okay, so I got an 8. So I need concrete assurance of your promise.
So, how to show them that you don't intend to kill their god after you let you pass?
That's a good question. I thought it was going to be assurance that I would. Well, I think I'll just point out that I could have destroyed the whole place, right? But we want to. We're still figuring out what everything's about.
Yeah, they kind of seem to notice that you could have destroyed everything, but so far they actually have been the biggest form of distraction in their own nest. So
Right.
they clear the path and they stand to the side, watching you with their steel cherubim faces and their lanterns as you pass.
All right. It sounds like I completed my quest.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a thing, but
And
So,
is
Reese. Yeah.
yeah, I was about to say. So I unfortunately lost a little bit of track of exactly where I was in that room. That's all this has happened.
No. The three of you, they are tied together. So.
Okay. Gotcha. Um. Hmm. I think. Well, I don't really know what happens to people when they die in Last Life yet, do I?
I'll say you do.
Okay.
You
So
know that the mists reclaim and they appear on the last bonfire,
okay.
which they align it to.
Okay.
you know how save points work.
Okay. Well, then I'm still distressed, but not as distressed. So, I mean, I think I am just sticking close to So Loud as best I can, and using my poor frail form to push this maggot right along.
So you emerge outside, and you are, well, the smell of rotting cabbage and whatever acrylic kind of zone sewage was left from the old arcane factories that are trapped in the swamps immediately tell you are on the muddied lands. And you see the maggots skim you under the faint light of the horizon, and you can sense the smoke of a bonfire nearby. And we cut to Basher, and we see the mist reforming on what seems to be an old factory. And amidst the destroyed assembly lines of arcane machinery, the ground has been sunk and claimed by the waters. And as soon as you emerge, you immediately start feeling the waters pulling you down as you are under the threat of being claimed by the mire once again. Why don't you roll no, not defy danger, because this is a custom move. Just roll with strength.
Seven.
So you are going to sink back in the swamp, and you recall all that endless time that you were trapped, and how that would be the worse than dying again, to be trapped for who knows how long, and nobody will be able to know that you sank here of all places. And you managed to free yourself, and you can recognize the distant vibrations of the maggot. You know that your companions are not that far away. We get back to them, and they can see the smoke of your bonfire.
So, what's the plan? Huh?
We're back where we started.
I think I mean, Reese is still absolutely ready to enact the previous sacrifice plan to entreat the guidance of Pedwin, pending discussion with the rest of us, of course. But it seems to him, at least, that if anything, surely his god has not died, but simply turned its back on him, and he simply needs to offer something to bring its favor back to Lastlife. So
Barbecue maggot then. And I think, Bash will kind of kick the maggot where it is and say, "Oi, maggot, what can you do for us? Make us more powerful or something? If not, it's barbecue maggot time."
I can make you my Hierophants, my champions in this world, my avatars of my wield. I can remake the world with you at my side. For a god has no use for earthly matters, but needs those that can will it. It is not a negotiation. It's just how the nature of worshippers and divine operate.
That sounds like you want us to serve you. That doesn't help us.
Well, you wear the divine sigils of my siblings. Will you say that you are their servant?
Well, they at least got us here. You offer no such promise.
I am confused. I am offering you a new world made from this husk. What more can I promise you? There is nothing in Lastlife that is as valuable as rebirth.
Like, you promised a new world. You never said anything about us in it.
As I said, I'm gonna need avatars, champions, hierophants there. That will be you. You have a place in the new world. That is what happens to my worshippers, those that believe in me, because the world will be based on their needs, on their desires, on their prayers. I have no say in what the world will be.
I think Bash will try and sort of motion to the others to kind of go out of earshot of the maggot, and he'll say, "You know, it sounds like a good deal, right? We're kings, rule over this new world, yeah?"
It does.
I can't lie. The promise of a new world, more so than my specific place in it, is tempting to me. But I cannot bring myself to turn my back on Pedwin, just because Pedwin has turned their back on me. Perhaps my goals can operate in tandem to this creature's, but I don't know that I can swear fealty to it in the way that it seems to demand.
I think Basher will nod and sigh and say, "All right, you've never led me wrong before. I'll go what you say."
The painted wiggling of the maggot seems to be intensifying. It seems to be not seeking to interrupt you, but you can notice that the more they are exposed to the swamp atmosphere, they seem to be becoming sicker and sicker.
Yeah, we also don't know what this god will become, so I'm hesitant to swear fealty to something I don't know anything about.
Right, let's
But,
get it over with then, yeah?
right, it does owe us, so that's worth something.
And then also, I guess technically, Reese can't hear anything that the maggot said anyway. So, he absolutely interprets that as Pedwin protecting him from the voice of a deceiver. So, he, I think as we sort of return, I'm just already kind of piecing together sort of just a litany of prayers, half remembered, and stitching together those bits and pieces, hoping that this is at least satisfactory to you know turn Pedwin's ear our way for this petition. So. Is it Basher or So Loud that's gonna take the charge on this?
Not you then.
Well, only in the sense that I imagine Reese's attention is very much wrapped up in the communing with the divine element of it. But the maggot more or less seems defenseless, and I will gladly have him take charge with that. It's also it's borderline on one of our veils, just because my weapon is a mace, and so I don't necessarily want to get into that.
So you sacrifice this godling, and you can feel its divine power release it, and you can feel the mist parting away, and like the last breath of a dying person, but it's like the last breath of a dying world, and you can hear mangled worms across it, and you know exactly who is saying those words, and you can ask your god something, any knowledge about civilization or any boon, and it just stuck sacrificing the future of Lastlife. So what is the boon that Reese asks that it was worth an entire new world?
Yes. So I think yeah. How do I stop looking so wet all the time? Really, it's more like I think that kind of worked into the prayer is this entreaty of like, we don't need a new world. We need a world with you in it. And how do we what must be done to restore your presence here in Lastlife?
You hear the whisper, I am dead. I am gone. However, I've always been two things: the prayers, the belief, and my power. You must find the memories of me in you so that you can become me. And you must find my power, and you will find it in the sword. Because the power of the father, the power of the mother, it was taken there. And it is more than enough power to make you a god. And then the final isolation, and you know that your god is dead forever. And whatever lingers is just the ghost of prayers and memories. And I guess this is a good cutoff point. So let's do the end of the session move.
Sure.
So, okay. So, did any of you complete your drive? Asher, did you do your drive?
Let's look. What was my drive?
Discover something about the mystery of the fall.
Yeah, I think we definitely did that.
Yeah, definitely you discovered what happened to the gods.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah. So
That
we'll
seems
mark XP
very
for
roundabout.
that. Yeah. And Max, did Basher fulfill his drive?
I tried, but didn't quite manage. to repurpose something powerful for myself.
Reese, help someone or something to meaningfully change.
Yeah, I think I could possibly argue that in the long term, but not today.
Yeah.
So I think if anything, I actually more upheld the status quo in my pursuit of future change.
Definitely, definitely.
Um,
So next we have so were any bounds resolved?
No, not for me.
I don't know if resolves. I think kind of making progress on the Reese was noble, soldier, and good. Kind of, sort of. I mean, he thinks he's doing the right thing. So.
Right.
Not quite resolved yet.
Maybe that Reese and I have different ideals. Like now I kind of understand where Reese is coming from more.
Okay, so you get 1 XP from each resolved one. Okay, next let's go the questions. So did we destroy something corrupt and dangerous? Oh yes. Did we liberate or create a powerful or useful treasure?
I saw one of the light replicator things.
Oh, yeah.
The ambrosia.
Yeah, we have the ambrosia. The ambrosia has potential.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, you did. Did we learn something important about the world before the fall? Yes, you learned that how gods are born and how gods lie. So, did we take a step towards building a new world in the ruins? No.
No. Not one bit.
So, everyone marked 3 XP from this.
You took a step backwards. Does that count?
Okay. Gonna stop the transmission now.